Welcome to the Divorce and Your Money Show. I'm your host, Sean Lehman. I'm an MBA, certified divorce financial analyst, financial advisor, and author of the book, Divorce and Your Money, The No-Nonsense Guide. My mission is to help you protect your money during one of the most difficult time periods in your life. You can visit our website at divorceandyourmoney.com or email me directly at Sean, SHAWN, at divorceandyourmoney.com. We have helped thousands of people through this show, and it is an honor and a pleasure, and I hope this episode today helps you. Today we are discussing the role of a forensic accountant in helping you find hidden assets or hidden income. I talk about hidden assets with increasing frequency because it is a complex subject and there are lots of reasons to be suspicious about hidden assets, and you need to know all of the tools at your disposal as you try and figure out if your spouse might be hiding assets from you. I will take it from experience. It is easy to do, and there are lots of tricks your spouse might be using to hide assets from you. Here are some of the ways. They could be underreporting income. They could be overpaying creditors. You could create what's called a fake debt. You could transfer assets to dummy corporations. Your spouse could be paying salaries to ghost employees. They could even put the person they're having an affair with on the payroll. They could be paying exorbitant social and health club expenses. They could be using company accounts for non-business travel and entertainment expenses. They could be paying rent on non-business property. If they own a business, they could be telling vendors to overcharge them and collecting refunds later. These are just starting points for some ways your spouse, particularly if they have a business of some kind, might be hiding assets from you. And if you have any suspicion, I talk about lots of different resources and ways to find hidden assets, but if you have any suspicions about your spouse hiding assets, one of the most valuable people you can hire when it comes to hidden assets is someone called a forensic accountant. These are accountants, as it sounds, but they have particular training when it comes to finding discrepancies or finding assets that are out of the normal course of business, or finding assets when people try and hide assets from each other. Or to give you an example, this doesn't have to do with divorce, but to give you an example, when Bernie Madoff stole billions of dollars, one of the most important people that all the attorneys hired was a team of forensic accountants to track down every transaction and to get as much money back as they could. This is what forensic accountants do, and they do this for businesses, they do this in bankruptcy cases, and they actually do this in divorce, particularly if one spouse might be hiding assets. So when you go and you look for a good forensic accountant in your state or your neighborhood, there are some things that they will look at. They basically will look at any document that you can provide to them, any financial statement, personal financial statements like tax returns, business financial statements, credit card statements, expense receipts. If you have a business, they will look at the accounts receivable and accounts payable. They will look at regulatory filings for a business. If there are businesses involved, they might look at ownership interest and stock certificates and tax returns. And what they will do is using the information that they are provided. Now, some of the information you might have ready access to, other information you're going to have to ask your attorney to compel your soon-to-be ex-spouse to produce certain financial information. It's part of the discovery process that you go through in divorce. I'm sure if you've already worked with an attorney or you're familiar with law, discovery is an important part of the legal process, but you can request particular information, particular financial information that will be analyzed for your divorce and by a forensic accountant. And this accountant will take the sum of information over several years, and they will track down and look at the transactions and reports over of a multiple year time period to look for consistency. They will look for any transaction or any set of transactions that looks out of place or that might make a red flag, and they will have to hunt down those leads to see if your spouse might be using one of many tricks to try and hide assets from you. It doesn't matter if if your spouse is a business owner or you have a family business. That is one of the most common ways and easiest ways to hide assets. But maybe your spouse is a professional, like a doctor, an attorney, or an executive. They have plenty of ways, believe it or not, that they can work with their company or their group in order to underreport income, for instance, like saying, hey, you know what? I want you to make my bonus extra low this year until this divorce works itself out, and you give it to me in the middle of the year instead of the end of the year after I sign the divorce settlement papers. Or they could be playing around with their expense reports or playing around with their income, and there are lots of ways for them to manipulate how much money they claim that they have, when in reality, the money that they're making, which is also your money, could be much higher than they lead you to believe. And if you aren't typically involved in the financial discussion, it makes it even that much easier, and also a reason for you to have more suspicions. I have seen spouses try and hide tens of thousands of dollars, and in some cases, millions of dollars, and they are willing to go to extreme lengths to hide that money. But the good news is a forensic accountant can often track down cookie crumbs and figure out where those payments are gone. So if you do not know a lot about your family finances, more the reason to have a forensic accountant on your team. There might be separate bank accounts that you don't know about. Do you ever regularly look at the pay stubs that your spouse receives? Not all of the money has to be deposited into your joint bank account. Maybe they for years have been keeping a separate bank account where funds are being deposited. Does your spouse travel somewhere with increasing frequency? That could mean that they have established their own financial life, be it in another state, another city, even a foreign country where it is easy to open up accounts, particularly if you're traveling there often. Or maybe your spouse has threatened you or said something suspicious where they say that you're never going to be able to find the money, or you're never going to be able to access the money, or maybe they brag to you in passing about how well something hidden is, or maybe they just threatened you and saying they're going to do everything they can to prevent you from getting access to money. These are all signs that you need to seriously consider hiring a forensic accountant, including that person on your divorce team. Now, of course, as I've said many times before, divorce can be very expensive. You will have your attorney. You will have your certified divorce financial analyst. That's someone like me, your financial expert. You should have your therapist. And these are the minimum people. Now, when it gets to more complicated scenarios, or maybe assets are hidden, you should have a forensic accountant. You should have a real estate appraiser. You should have someone who is an expert at evaluating businesses. While they all add to the cost of divorce, divorce is one of the biggest financial transactions that you may go through, and it is important to do it well. Sometimes a forensic accountant might cost as little as $1,000 or a couple $1,000. And it's not just for the rich, but potentially paying a few $1,000s, or sometimes even $5 or $10, or in an extreme case, $50,000. If there's millions of dollars at stake, it's an insurance policy for you. You know, maybe they find a big account that you didn't know about, or you know, if you're thinking about maybe there's $75,000 that could be somewhere, and you pay a forensic accountant $5,000, well, that would be well worth the expense to find those hidden accounts or hidden assets. And even though it might be an additional expense in your divorce, really seriously know that forensic accountants exist for this very purpose, to help analyze the most complex situations and really to track down any sort of case where a spouse might be acting improperly and trying to prevent you from getting the settlement that you deserve. So that's it from this episode. Before you go, I always want to make sure you don't miss some very important resources. You can find them all at divorceandyourmoney.com. There you should sign up for the newsletter, which will give you exclusive updates that I don't provide anywhere else. Also, you can find a link to my book, Divorce and Your Money, The No Nonsense Guide. It's available on Amazon. It's a great resource for you, and it will help you with things like, who do you need on your divorce team? How do you analyze financial issues in divorce? How do you get organized? How do you look at settlement proposals? It is a comprehensive, all-in guide that you should seriously think about getting as you go through your divorce process. It's not very expensive, and the value to you is enormous. You can email me with questions at Shawn, SHAWN, at divorceandyourmoney.com. And also, I offer one-on-one coaching sessions. So if there's a particular financial issue in your divorce that you need a little bit of help on, it could be a small issue, it could be a much bigger issue, but we can talk about those, and I will work directly with you wherever you are across the country. And if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast player. You leave a 5-star review. It was greatly appreciated if you find this information helpful. It allows other people to discover this show. And also share it with a friend. If you have a friend in a similar situation, at a bad marriage or going through divorce, this is free information that I provide, and just helping one other person can mean a lot to them, and it also means a lot to me. I appreciate the messages that people send to me that says that this show is helping them. That's why I do it, and that is why I'm here. I'm your host, Shawn Lehman, MBA, financial advisor, certified divorce financial analyst. Thank you for listening.